2023 was truly a special year. There were so many amazing, unique, heartwarming, fun, and, not you, wonderful movies. Obviously, the Walt Disney Company didn't get the memo and had a pretty lackluster year compared to others. But I'm pretty sure that the year 2024 will fare better for this lovable mouse and co. With upcoming releases like Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3, it's definitely looking promising. However, there is one show that's currently streaming weekly that can help change the tide of recent Disney releases: Percy Jackson and The Olympians. Oh, and What If, but I haven't gotten around to that one yet. Before we get started, I just want to say Happy New Year's. It's crazy that it's already 2024, but hope you all had a great holiday and a great break or rest. If you were one of the 2 people that saw my previous Percy Jackson video, well, thank you so much. And you would probably know that I was a pretty big fan of the book series when I was younger. I remember reading it in school, and after finishing the first book, I rushed over to Barnes & Noble and begged my mom to buy me the whole series. I was hooked on the books and I was super excited when the live-action movie was announced and scheduled to release in 2010. My childhood self was so excited for both this and The Last Airbender movie releasing the same year. I literally couldn't stop smiling for the entire time waiting up for the release of these 2 movies. And I've never been happy since. But spoilers, the movie sucked. It's somewhat enjoyable nowadays in a so bad it's kind of fun way, but at the time, I was not pleased. I truly believe that the movie had a high chance of being great as long as the filmmakers treated the source material with love. But I guess that love was harder to find than Waldo himself. And that's not all. What's better than one bad adaptation? 2 bad adaptations. For some reason, they decided to double down and make an even worse sequel, which made me even more disappointed and just doubted that a good adaptation was ever going to happen. The sequel definitely felt cheaper than the first movie, and although they did make some effort, like making Alexandra Daddario blonde, or adding Clarice, and well, I guess that's it. Pierce Brosnan doesn't even reprise his role as Chiron, and instead we have... Wait a minute, is that Rupert? The movie was even further from the books than the first one, and even having Nathan Fillion as Hermes just wasn't enough to save this putrid attempt of a film. But all we had to do was wait just a mere 10 years, because now we finally got something that looks somewhat competent. Percy Jackson is now a child of Disney's growing empire, and although that may be a bad thing for some, Artemis Fowl, it's looking like a somewhat positive acquisition. Percy Jackson and the Olympians debuted late December of 2023 and is already at the halfway point of the first season. Some would say it's at the hump. I want to go over what I like and dislike so far in the first half of the season and how it compares to both the book and the movie. And I have to say, just from the first episode alone, it's miles ahead of whatever Chris Columbus was doing with the movie.
You have a real horse's ass.
And disclaimer, there will be some minor spoilers, but it's pretty much just talking about the story of the book. The number one thing an adaptation has to nail is the casting. It doesn't matter how good the story or the cinematics is if the characters don't act like their literature counterparts. Luckily, Walker Scobell, Leah Jeffries, and Arian Simhadri, I'm so sorry for the pronunciation, they're perfect as their characters. I've seen some clips of these 3 either on YouTube or Instagram, and the way they joke around and act feels like they've brought the characters of Percy, Annabeth, and Grover right off of the page.
There's always a duo and a trio.
Not to mention the characters are finally the correct age. No more man-child Percy, now we just have child Percy. No hate on Logan Lerman, I thought he did a great job given the script and directing. But we finally have age-accurate actors portraying these kids who embark on a journey to save the fate of the world and save the fate of Percy's mother.
I don't feel so good.
And while there are some moments that may seem, and I hate using this word, but cringe, it makes sense in the context of our characters. The show follows a story closer to the books than the movie ever did. Just having a minor character like Nancy Boba Fett.
Miss Boba Fett.
Oh, my apologies. Boba Fett. She was absent in the movie, but in this show she's here and ready to make Percy's life miserable. Or maybe it's the other way around? Her role is super minor and easily could have been removed without changing much of the story, and honestly I wouldn't blame them if they wanted to breeze through Percy's time before camp, but taking the time and effort to add these minor details adds to the overall narrative and adaptation as a whole. It really feels like they're treating this with the care and respect that it truly deserves. There are some minor differences between the book and the show, which is to be expected. After all, no adaptation is without sin. Except for holes. There's no hellhound that attacks Percy. Percy doesn't say Annabeth is his dream girl accidentally. And they find out about Percy's mom's fate way too early. That alongside Medusa, and it's pretty clear that they took fair liberties making this show. But it's still 100% more faithful than the movie. We get a pen with a cap instead of a clicking pen, and honestly you have no idea how happy this makes me. We have the Chimera. We have Percy getting claimed instead of automatically knowing who his father is, and so much more. I would give a lot more examples, but that would mean I would need to watch the movie again, and I would hope you wouldn't want that for me. I will say that I do prefer the movie's version of Dionysus with Stanley Tucci as opposed to Agent Pimento. Not that Jason Mantzoukas did a bad job, I just prefer Stanley Tucci's interpretation of this god of wine banned from wine. Another nitpick I have with the show is Gabe, Percy's stepfather. In the book, Gabe is this putrid, smelly, abusive stepdad that Percy absolutely despises. He treats both Percy and Sally wrong, and it's clear from every interaction and description that Gabe just wasn't a good person. The movie version does a clearer job showcasing this, but in the show, I think Gabe's just kind of a loser. He doesn't make me hate him, he just doesn't want to watch the Knicks alone.
No, I hate watching the Knicks alone.
So do I!
And this makes me wonder if they're gonna keep the ending of the book the same with his fate and Medusa, because it seems like this version of Gabe just doesn't really deserve what's coming to him. I mean, he's a Jets fan for crying out loud, hasn't he suffered enough? But let me spare you me ranting about my beloved Jets this season and bring this video to a close. The show is only halfway over, so there's a good chance it could be amazing or just plain horrible. After all, Disney Plus shows tend to differ in quality episode to episode, unless you're talking about Loki Season 2 because that show is just perfect. I had a fun time watching this show and an equally fun time making this video. I want to see what you guys thought of the show down below. Please like and subscribe as well, as it'll be really helpful to my huge ego. But in all honesty, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night. Thankful for all of you, Happy New Year's once again, and goodbye.